Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today we're unpacking something incredibly heavy, the atomic dawn. We're going to look at the devastating chain of events that actually led to the dropping of the atomic bombs on Japan. The choices made during these few days, they quite literally changed the entire trajectory of the modern world forever. To really understand this, let's put ourselves right in that moment. It's August 6, 1945. A totally typical Monday morning in Hiroshima. Kids are heading to school under a perfect blue sky, offices are buzzing. It was just ordinary. It was completely peaceful. Then, at 8:15 a.m., a single American plane flying high overhead drops its payload. 43 seconds. That is the exact, terrifying amount of time that bomb spent silently falling through the air. For just under a minute, life down below continued exactly as normal. And then, the world basically ended for that city. A fireball, literally burning as hot as the sun, descended on Hiroshima. 80,000 people were gone. Instantly. The sheer scale of that immediate destruction was unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed before. Which leaves us asking the big question, why? Why use a weapon of such unprecedented, unimaginable devastation? Well, to answer that, we really have to look past the mushroom cloud and rewind the timeline a bit. Let's move into Section 1, the road to war, imperial ambitions and the Pacific conflict. You see, Japan had developed this grand vision of a Greater Asia, and this was essentially a strategic cover to colonize neighboring countries for their resources. But when Japan expanded into French Indochina, the U.S. pushed back with immense economic pressure. To put this in perspective, at that time, 80% of Japan's oil came directly from America. The U.S. abruptly cut off that supply, which delivered a paralyzing blow to the whole Japanese war machine. Feeling completely backed into a corner, Japan made a reckless move. They launched a massive surprise attack to cripple the American fleet in one fell swoop. The 1941 bombing of Pearl Harbor instantly and irrevocably dragged the United States into World War II. That brings us to Section 2. A refusal to surrender, and the bloody reality of 1945. So by this point, the war in Europe was actually over, but Japan, they fiercely refused to give up. To understand why, we need to look at their psychology at the time. The Japanese population was heavily conditioned by what's called a modified Bushido code. Their emperor, Hirohito, wasn't just a leader, he was viewed as a literal living god. This was intense religious zealotry fully integrated into their military doctrine. Under this belief system, surrendering was seen as the deepest possible humiliation. On the flip side, dying for the emperor, that was the absolute highest honor. And this mindset birthed some truly terrifying realities, like kamikaze pilots and, tragically, even kids trained as suicide bombers. The U.S. actually got a horrifying preview of what a mainland invasion would look like during the Battle of Okinawa. It was the absolute bloodiest battle in the Pacific theater. It cost the lives of 12,000 U.S. soldiers. But the losses on the other side? Almost unfathomable. Over 100,000 Japanese soldiers died. They literally fought to the last man, showing everyone that modified Bushido code in deadly real-world practice. And the most horrifying part of all was the civilian toll. Caught right in the crossfire, an estimated 25% of Okinawa's entire civilian population perished. It's just devastating. So, looking at this absolute bloodbath, American military leaders had to project the cost of a full mainland invasion. Their estimates? They guessed the invasion could drag on for 10 more years and cost the lives of up to 1 million American soldiers. Which brings us to Section 3, the Atomic Ultimatum and the Manhattan Project. Upon becoming president, Harry Truman was briefed on a highly classified, top-secret scientific endeavor, and it offered a terrifying potential way out of this bloody stalemate. Following a successful test of the bomb, the U.S. issued the Potsdam Declaration. They demanded unconditional surrender, or else Japan would face, and I quote, prompt and utter destruction. Japan rejected it, but they were likely completely unaware that a weapon of this magnitude even existed. So, on August 6th, the bomb codenamed Little Boy hit Hiroshima. Remember that perfect blue sky? It was instantly turned toxic black. The intense heat literally vaporized people, leaving only permanent shadows burned right onto stone. Even the rain that fell afterward was black and poisonous. You'd think that would be it, right? Yet Japanese military fanatics still refused to surrender. Because of this, just 3 days later, on August 9th, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb, Fat Man, on the city of Nagasaki. Leading us into Section 4, the ultimate ethical debate. Was it justified? Now, decades later, historians and ethicists continue to furiously debate whether dropping the bombs was the right decision or a profound moral failure. We're not picking sides here, but let's look at the facts. U.S. leadership, including Truman, argued that ending the war immediately was basically a blessing because it saved that estimated 1 million American lives. But critics point out a pretty devastating counterargument. They highlight that 95% of the casualties were civilians and that the Soviet Union's entry into the war just hours earlier might have forced Japan's surrender anyway. Critics also point to a highly debated alternative. They suggest the U.S. could have invited Japanese officials to witness a demonstration of the bomb on an unpopulated military island, basically showing off the power of the atom as a massive warning. But as we know, events unfolded rapidly. August 6th, Hiroshima. August 9th, Nagasaki, and that Soviet entry. Facing complete annihilation, Emperor Hirohito finally broke the tie in his council and officially surrendered on August 15, 1945. The deadliest war in human history was finally over. Today, if you visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you'll see these thriving, beautifully rebuilt cities. They stand as incredible testaments to resilience and peace. But, while the physical rubble is gone, the world was forever changed by what happened there. The lessons of the atomic dawn, the terrifying capability of human destruction, they remain permanently etched into our global consciousness. Which leaves us with a deeply provocative question to wrap up on. Given the completely impossible choices Truman faced, the millions of lives on the line, and the truly devastating civilian cost, was the decision right or was it wrong? There's definitely no easy answer here. Keep learning, keep questioning, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll catch you in the next one.